Live.
We'll start with it.
Good evening. Welcome to the work session of the Battle Creek Public School Board of Education. Today is Monday, September 9th, 2024. It is 5:33 p.m. Will the secretary call roll, please?
Dr. Alicia Johnson.
Here.
Dr. Nicole Perry.
Present.
Catherine LaValle.
Here.
Nathan Graycheck. Here. Art McClinney.
Aye.
Kylie Fulbright.
Here.
President Fulbright.
Thank you so much. As a reminder, tonight's meeting is being interpreted into Spanish thanks to our partners from Voces Battle Creek. To listen in Spanish, please refer to the description on our YouTube live stream for the link. To our board members and other speakers, please remember to speak clearly and not too quickly so that our interpreters are able to keep up. Thank you. I will now entertain a motion to approve the agenda. Mr. President? Yes, Trustee Grayjack?
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
It's been moved by Trustee Grayjack, supported by Trustee LaValle. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Thank you. The Battle Creek Public School Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the community to express themselves on district matters. We have two opportunities on our agenda tonight for public comment. The Board of Education requests you fill out a public participation form with contact information. As you come to the microphone, please state your name. Each statement made by a speaker shall be limited to 3-minute duration. If the speaker represents a group, the person will be given 5 minutes to speak. BCPS Board of Education will listen, take comments and questions under advisement, and not respond at this time. Public commenters will direct all comments to the Board of Education and not to staff or other participants. I see we have Ms. Nicole Hill.
Fancy.
He's not done yet.
Good evening, Superintendent and Board. Last time I was here, I didn't need readers. But here we are. I'm here on behalf of my daughter. As a concerned citizen and as a heartbroken parent. I won't name my daughter, but I'd like to share some of her experiences over the last couple of years. 2 years ago, she got into a relationship with a man 10 years her senior. She's visited the ER 4 different times, and those are the times that she thought she was going to die. She's been seen and treated in ER for pain behind her eyes, following repeated punches to her head and face, a concussion, a broken finger, and bleeding from her ear after being choked out in the street when she tried to run. That's not counting the scrapes and bruises or the lifelong damage that he has caused her financially, emotionally, and psychologically. Most recently, he posted her social number online, opened up Semco and Consumers Energy accounts in her name and a credit card with a $20,000 limit that continues to be used. So the reason I'm here this evening is because this predator works with BCPS students. No, he's not an employee, but works for one of the contractors, a company that prides itself on stopping the violence in Battle Creek. I called the director of that company several months ago to report that he had a person working for him that was sexually assaulted and violently beat my daughter. His response was more concerned that I did not damage this person's ability to make money without proof, and suggested that we file a police report. So only after that happened, he would even listen to what I was saying. It took me months to talk my daughter into filing a report because she knew he'd be out in 60 days and things would get worse. When we finally attempted to file a police report, following a lecture from the desk clerk at the Battle Creek Public Police Department, we were sent in many different directions and still no resolution. So as a citizen of the city of Battle Creek, I can no longer stand by and wait for justice to be served to someone so deserving. This person is dangerous, My daughter is not the first of his victims, but the first one to try to file a police report. He's known by many in Battle Creek. In fact, one of the ER police that got her statement when she was in there said, "Oh, I know him. He's a good guy." People are scared to speak up, fearful of retaliation. So while we pursue this predator in court and in the Justice Department, I come with a warning to the parents, teachers, superintendent, and Board of Education. Capri Taylor is dangerous, and he's working with our children at their most vulnerable state.
Thank you, ma'am. Someone from our district will get back with you.
Thank you.
Moving on to discussion, master plan executive summary. Herb Hayden.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Although it says executive summary, you have in front of you, it's been distributed the actual executive summary, but we have with us Eduardo Blanc, who's a managing partner of TMP Architecture, who will walk through maybe a broader view of what you guys have in the executive summary. So I'm going to turn it over now to my friend and colleague, Mr. Eduardo Blanc.
Thank you, Herb. Good evening again.
Hi.
Planning I use this a little jogger, but I'll just put it here. So, yeah, I was here, what was it, January, I think, giving you an update on all this work, which is finally completed. So that's the good news. We went through a lot of work with the district, a lot of site visits, meetings, and a lot of work compiling over 800 pages of a report. So with that, I'm just trying to say that I will try to do my best to explain a little bit, what it is about. And you also will have an executive summary that will help you go through things quicker and probably understand the main topics. But I will just try to go for a few minutes to through the whole work so you can understand what we have done. For this strategic plan study, actually, when we started, we were looking at exactly, what was the purpose of this report, and I think we all came to an agreement that it's actually to provide a refresh and realignment of your current strategic plan. You guys have a strategic plan. Typically, these reports are put together to create a strategic plan, but since you already have it, we are providing the information, updating the information. Over the past 5 years, things changed kind of dramatically in the construction world. So this is a good refresh for you when you look at your strategic plan. This has not been done just by TMP. TMP worked actually, we led a team that included Chrisman. Jess is here with us tonight. Chrisman helped us with cost estimates and the evaluation of your facilities. We had C2E helping us with mechanical, electrical, and plumbing issues. We also had Contact Design and Brett Emerson from that company. Did a lot of visits and meetings and school visits to understand the technology of the district. And then Future Think, who helped us go through the demographics. So what I'm going to do now is just go over the 4 components of this study. There's a facility assessment, a program assessment, technology and demographics, and I'll just describe briefly what each of those are about. The facility assessment is basically what we do when we have to look into the deficiencies in the infrastructure of your buildings. We call infrastructure deficiencies to your building envelope, doors, windows, walls, the roof. We also look into the systems like mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems, which I described before, and then the structural integrity.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. And everything, and just double check that the buildings are compliant to code requirements. The program assessment instead talks about the educational trends. There's a series of meetings, and I will describe that briefly in a few minutes, with staff members of your district and a lot of inside observations. Technology assessment actually looked into your security systems and also your instructional technology. And demographics basically analyzes two items, which are enrollment projections and the student's attendance location. Starting with demographics, Future Think started looking initially in the national trend for pre-K-12 districts. And you can see there, the darker it shows a little more decline, and we all know this, in some states in the Midwest. And then the growth is reflected in the lighter color states.
It's the,
Nope, I went too far.
which one's the highest, the lowest number, whatever that looks like, maybe 13?
Yeah. So 13% decrease, and this is based on the last 10 years. But it's not all bad news. So we also look into the population by age group, and although you have seen that decrease, it's currently pretty steady. You can see in the graphic there that it's not a big difference, and there's not a big drop as it used to happen in the past. We also look at the Battle Creek district itself, and I'm just going to skip a couple of spreadsheets here that obviously are hard to read. But the good news is that as we start looking into the future, we can see that numbers are steady, showing a slight growth within the next 10 years. So that is where we want to concentrate. We also talked about the boundaries. I think I've shown you these plans before, right? These maps before, where it also shows within the school district limits where there's growth and where there is decline of population. And the student's address is actually reflects where the students are coming from. In this case, I just picked La Mora as a example. And you can see in yellow is the area that is, those are the boundaries for La Mora, but then you can see students in yellow dots that are coming from other areas as well. Although La Mora is on the northwest side of the district, we have students coming from the southeast side of the district. So these are very interesting. I recommend you to take a look at that because we have one per school, so you can see where the students actually are attending the district and the different district schools. The facilities condition assessment probably is the easiest one to understand. I talked about deficiencies in the infrastructure of the buildings. This is the district map with all the location, size, and age of your buildings. Probably here the interesting part is that you have over 1,300,000 square feet of property, and it's a lot to take care of. It's a big number, and I commend your staff taking care of all those buildings. Currently, is a lot of work. And then on top of that, the average age of your buildings is 75 years old. So, something to consider. There, of course, they have been renovations over the years, and you had some new buildings, newer buildings, but the overall that gives us that number. So the way that we look at this, obviously, if you have to do work to bring those buildings to an ideal situation where you don't have any problems with your windows or with your mechanical systems or your roof, that's what we compare the current status of the building to. What do we need to do to bring this building to an ideal situation? And within all that scope of work, we have to divide that in different categories because some of those needs are immediate, some of them can wait a little longer, and others actually can be like probably after the next 10 years that we're looking at making some replacements and some repairs. But there is a lot of critical needs, which represents the red in that graphic, and that is work that, you know, can be done over the next 5 to 10 years. We also look at, you know, we provide some graphics for you to understand, depending on the building type, where are those needs. And this one is a little deceiving because it's based on square footage. So obviously, you know, your high school, which is the purple in this graphic, requires more than anything else. But you can see up there that there's the elementary school and support that also are in need of more than half of the infrastructure scope of work.
The high school includes WK, prep, and all the 3 schools that you have listed in the previous slide under high school.
Yeah.
So those 3 buildings is what you classify as high school.
Right. Correct. And obviously, you know, they add up a lot of square footage altogether. And the last one for the infrastructure assessment, there we go. You know, it looks into what parts of your building have more needs than others. And you can see there, the building envelope is one of the items that is require a lot of work. And also mechanical and interiors. Those are the ones that are taking the majority. Civil, which represents sites and playgrounds, you know, it's not that big a one. Let's talk a little bit about program assessment, and this is probably a little more difficult to understand what we're looking into here. So bear with me for a few slides, and I'm sure you will have some questions that I will try to answer. So what is the assessment, the program assessment framework? So you have buildings that have some infrastructure deficiencies. Those are easy to see, right? If the boiler is not working, simple, has to be replaced. If the flooring is in bad shape, it has to be replaced. But we're also looking into other items that are very important for the buildings. One is the site capacity. You know, and that is something that is not reflected in your infrastructure assessment. Safety and security is something that is not going to, I mean, the building is probably safe, right? But there are some parameters. Is the access to the building safe or not? You know, are there enough cameras? Is everything covered? Building accessibility, and here we have a lot of, you know, ADA compliance issues probably. And sometimes it's not just the building. It could be the sites. You have some sites that have up and downs, right? They have some slope on it. They have to be taken care of, and sometimes the ramps with the new requirements don't comply anymore. So that's other thing that we're looking into. How the building is organized. So is it easy to navigate? You know, for the students when they come in, is it a clear path to get to your classroom? Is it a clear path from your classroom to your cafeteria or the media center? And we try to look at that with fresh eyes. So our team doesn't know the buildings when they come here. And so they play the role of a student that comes for the first time to the building. And, okay, how do I navigate this place, right? And how you feel about it. Of course, all those observations are aligned with your district vision and mission. So we go through that first. We make sure that we are covering everything that is in your vision and mission section of your website, and with your 6 goals of for greatness that we're taking into consideration when we did the assessment. The first part of the assessment was actually meeting with staff, and here are some examples of things that were, you know, we brought some questions to them and we let them speak, and some of the questions are here, like, for example, how do you see the future of learning at Battle Creek? Or, you know, what should the students experience throughout the day in a Battle Creek building? And you can see we try to get very succinct responses, and you can see some of them. These are two examples of some of those responses and questions. And this happened during the fall of 2023. That's when we had all those meetings. Some of them were remote. And then after those meetings, our team came here to visit the buildings, as I described before. So they look at everything. They walk all the buildings. And they also they came during school hours. So they also saw how learning was happening in the buildings and how, that was happening not only in the classrooms, but also in your gymnasiums and cafeterias and libraries within the buildings. And then through a process that I can describe in a little more detail, basically those buildings were evaluated and the categories are the attributes that they looked into the building, have a limited support for the education in the buildings. Was it in a developing yellow phase, or was it proficient and good? So I can provide more detail about this at the end if anybody has any questions about it. Technology, pretty simple to describe. Basically, they did a lot of inside observations. They visited all the buildings and all the different IT rooms and looked not only into the instructional technology, but also data, how the data is distributed in the buildings, audio video systems in classrooms and large rooms and conference rooms, your security systems, your clock systems and access controls to all the buildings. And then the report actually goes building by building, giving you a good explanation and illustrating all that with pictures of their situation. So overall, those over 800 pages are actually on the right side of this slide with the 4 books that I think you have access to already, and then the executive summary gives you a succinct version of all the report. So with that, I'm going to just leave it up for questions, if anybody has any. I'm sure that Catherine has one.
I have it. Is that okay to add?
Absolutely.
The dollar amounts for the critical needs have been given that we saw in your presentation, as well as probably this executive summary.
Yes.
And does each of the facilities needs, like the dollar amount here for Ann J, is there a listing of all the needs that make up that dollar amount?
Correct. Yes.
When do we get to see that?
That is in the infrastructure.
In the hands of each of the department leaders. So each department leader received a binder that is up, what he's talking about, 800 pages. And so we didn't feel like that was necessary for the board to go into that detail, but you have access to it if you'd like it.
But is it online that it's on access?
No, they're big binders that each of the department.
So even in order to print all that, we had to create a link to just, because it's
huge.
It's huge. It has a lot of pictures that take a lot of room, So, but we have those books available, right?
So if someone wants one, then we will be happy to make them, or you could come in to see those books. But I heard from the president that not every board member would want those big binders. So we made sure that our department leaders have them, and they're going to be going deep into these binders to understand how to make a plan to bring forward to the board.
Also, I can offer, if you go through those and you have specific questions, Catherine, we're available via email anytime. So.
Oh, I know you're very reachable. The attributes, what do they consist of? Are there definitions?
Yeah. I asked for help about that.
What's that?
I asked for help because I wasn't the author of the program assessment.
Sure.
I'm kind of coordinating all the effort. So When you look, when you have a chance to actually look through the binder, there's where you are going to see the process. But, so basically, the way that this looks into is, there are three attributes: the functional, the activation, and the sensory attributes. So functional is basically looking into how things work within the building, right? You may have, I'm gonna just make up an example. You may have the right size cafeteria, you may have the right size kitchen and serving lines, but maybe there's a circulation going through them, right? Between one side of the building and another side of the building. So you have all the right components, the right square footage, everything is in good shape, but functionally it's not working properly, right? Activation attributes. So are the spaces helping, activating education in the environment, right? Are they helping teachers to actually be heard by the students? So there's probably some impediments there, or not. So those are the ones that are being evaluated. And the other one are the sensory attributes. So sensory basically reflects a room might have all the right components, you have the right marker boards, everything, but probably has just one window in a corner, no natural light, right? Is that helping the education in the room? Probably not, right? It would be great to have natural light. So I'm just putting a few examples for you to understand what we're looking at. Now, those three are categorized in, like limited, developing, or proficiency.
Right.
And then they are assigned a number from 1 to 10. And then those are then compiled in spreadsheets. Adding, you add up, and that's what is reflected in those circles that I brought.
Yeah,
So a little bit of a process that I didn't want to include all the parts and pieces, but
Well, sure,
it's all
but it
available
makes
in
it
the
clearer that there's actual details that we need to be
Right.
aware of. And I noticed that Verona doesn't even get a proficiency
Right,
color.
right.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
I have a question. It's not probably for you though.
I'll try to answer it now.
Just looking at you made a comment about us having a lot of square footage. So in this review, are we going to take a look at, do we need to consolidate buildings? From a cost perspective, from a practicalities perspective, we're moving to Northwestern being K through 8, Fremont's K through 5, and then we have a couple pre-K through seconds. So are we looking at that? Is that all on the table?
It is all on the table, and it's all a really hard discussion, having been through we closed 3 buildings, and making a decision as to where that might, who loses out in that space, and not to put it in that perspective. But absolutely, those are the conversations we have to have. I think the big takeaway from this report is that our buildings need $130 million worth of work, and our sinking fund brings in about $2 million a year. So how do we prioritize? And to your point, what buildings get some money, which ones might need to be consolidated? Those are all conversations we have to have. Those are the brutal facts that we're going to have to confront.
I mean, thinking about the demographic data show there's not going to be an increase. So it's not like we're holding out for some more space or more capacity needs. And then comparing with other districts in this city, they don't have multiple buildings of every level like we do. So just that practicality, I think we need to be thoughtful of that, especially with the age of our buildings, and it's just not realistic to maintain all of that. Is the comment that I will throw out there while we await for y'all to do the analysis.
You don't want to do the analysis. No, and so it's all, also we're going to have a robust, and this is a work session, so remember, we should just have some conversations right now. But we also have to take into consideration the impact that those changes have on out-migration also. So can we afford to have more out-migration? Because people want want neighborhood schools, and so what's the return on that investment? I don't know, but those are all the hard conversations that we're gonna have to have, and that takes a lot of community engagement. And it will probably be not something that happens overnight,
Yeah.
but something that we begin the journey on over the next 5 years, right, to get to a goal. So yes, this was very sobering.
Yeah, and I know everybody has like their feelings. They closed Urbandale, and I had my little feelings, but I understand that it's a thing. It costs money to run these buildings, and then we're also spreading our staff thin. So it's a matter of if you have all these teachers trying to service all these buildings, that is difficult. And if we'd only have like a handful of kids there, yeah, it's nice to have neighborhood schools, but we needed that because our population was bigger. We have had a significant population decline. Michigan is going to continue to decline, but it's hard, but it's real.
I appreciate that supportive conversation about where we as a board need to go. And we're ready. It sounds like we have a readiness for another level of conversation.
I do. I can't speak for everybody else, but you know, I lead with the practicality of we need to be realistic.
So the last facilities assessment was done 10 years ago, and it was a binder that we had sheets just flying all over the place as we visited the many buildings before coming up with that decision to close the 3 facilities. And this is great to have this information. I guess I just need to make an appointment to look at the binder to see what those dollar amounts are critical for. It's nice to have that little pie chart that has the colors of, I think you said not functional.
Yeah,
It's limited, developing, and proficient.
Right.
And that will guide our decision-making. But it was time for this assessment to really take place, and it might have been delayed due to COVID too. But it's done, and it is appreciated once we just understand what's in the report.
So I think, to be more clear, to make sure that people, you have some really specific numbers, right? And that's on page 10 of this document. And so to make sure you understand, the only thing the binders do is tell you exactly what the 3.4 million is.
But that's what our last study showed us. In those
Yes.
loose leaf pages that were flying all over the place, we had details that needed this to be handled, and it was kind of forecasted out that eventually it needed to be done by a certain year. But it's just, I realize we want to have brevity and not to kill a forest on paperwork. But it's just where it needs further understanding for us to see what work does need to be done. And I like the breakdown of sensory, functional, and you said the activation attributes.
and
That's
those are
important.
You know, when you look at those attributes of the building, usually when you produce an infrastructure assessment, you tend to forget about those things. Because sometimes the building can be fixed, right? The infrastructure of the building can be fixed easily, right? Or maybe it's only like $5 million. Oh, great, you know, but does the building deserve that? Is the building provided the right environment for the type of program that is being run there? And then your investment is not good. It's small, it's easy, but it's not providing the right response, right? So I think that part is actually will help to make some decisions.
Thank you.
I'm going to put this out here. I got killed for this years and years ago. But I'm going to say it again because we went through this before, and I said this might have been 10 years ago. I don't know. I'm going to say it again now. Thank you for your comments. I guess our buildings are old. You have this assessment just reiterated my thought process. I said back then that it may be time to have that hard conversation that this community probably, and I'm going to get some pushback, I know it. It may be to the point how we're going to educate these kids if we need 2 campuses. One on the north, one on the south. And when I say campus, I'm talking about, and I'm not talking, I know we got the new schools, I'm gonna get killed, but I'm talking about a campus built on the north, centrally located, one on the south, centrally located. Our population I don't see it growing. I just don't. That's just the truth. The way you educate kids, I don't know, I might be dead, but it's changing. So, and that's a hard conversation to have. I got killed when I suggested that. But we got destroyed for closing schools. I was one of those who, the reason I joined this board, because we closed schools way, way back, and I lost my mind till I got on the board, and then I had a whole different perspective. But that's a conversation that you may have to have, and it may be a different board. But a campus on the north, K through 8, or it may have to go all the way to high school. It depends on how we want to educate kids. One on the north, one on the south. I said that before. With all the properties, we're talking about properties from way back when I was in school and some others. It's not feasible. Those are hard conversations for people to have. That's a hard conversation for me to say. It's not feasible. I don't want to bring that crowd in talking about let's combine with all these other districts. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm absolutely not for that. But I'm saying with all these properties, it's not feasible. And that's the conversation. I said it 10 years ago, and I'm saying it again now.
This is what we needed to begin the conversation
Yes.
first, right? So we had to say, so that we can help people understand the why
Yes.
behind the decisions that are being made. And Eduardo said to me, you know, there will be hard decisions about, do you try to put in $20 million into a building that is really, or do you say, hey, let's not do any of those and maybe take that money and build something new, but which is gonna cost a different level. But those are all really tough conversations that we have to have and begin a process. So.
I have a question related to WK. That one is a big cost. Is that the auditorium driving that, or is that the building itself?
Well, it all depends. I mean, is that the right building for the program? That is probably the question, right? You have a lot of square footage that is dedicated to an auditorium. It's beautiful. I would, as an architect, I would love to renovate that building. Now, is that the right building for what you are using it for? That's a question.
Right.
You're going to put a lot of money into the auditorium, which totally deserves it. Let's be honest. But how much instruction is happening in that space compared to so many instructional spaces that need help as well?
And if at WK, I could be wrong, maybe it's changed. Aren't we just responsible, the auditorium itself, we're not responsible for that? All right, so we're responsible for the whole building? I know at one point,
It's been redecorated, all the sound and lighting.
I understand, but I knew at one point, there was some questions about what we could do and what we couldn't do because of some connection with the foundation, I believe it was.
So they did put a lot of money into the renovation of it the last time. And so that is considered a community gathering place, right? And so we've been trying to reimagine the space around it to make that viable, stay viable,
Yeah.
right? And so, but there's a lot of work around that. That's a jewel in the middle when the rest of the building needs.
Yeah.
I also think you can't truly, go ahead. You can't truly live into it being a community space, because I agree, like the auditorium is really nice, but some of the limitations of it being a school, right? So you can't even really, it can't be completely a community space because of those limitations.
Right.
Some of the policies that govern it, those kinds of things. So, yeah.
And I think that, overall, this is going to give you some tools to think about things that you're not going to be able to do all at once. It's going to take time. But I think that will help you say, all right, this is what we can take care of now, but make the right investments, right? And not be spending money because you want to be, you know, I know that we all want to be equitable, right? And you spend the same amount of money. I have, every single district is like that, right? You have 5 elementary schools, you want to spend the same amount of money in every single building, but because you want to be, you know, fair to everyone. But sometimes that money spent in one of the buildings, you know, is actually almost wasting the money that could be spent in a better way. And it has nothing to do with the education that is happening in the building, it just has to do with the building structure. And, you know, you're dealing with buildings that are over 100 years old here. Right? So the way that they were designed and the way that the education is being, you know, taught these days, it's very different than back then. I am available for any kind of questions via email, and Kim know that, so feel free to, or maybe, you know, direct to you and you can forward me, because you may have some questions that are actually pertaining to some of our consultants, but I will be, you know, more than happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Did we receive PDF copies of those folders? Yes. Okay, so we, the easiest way would be to put them in a folder that we'll share for those who want to look deeper into that. So we'll follow up on that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you, guys. Good to see you again.
Moving on to our next public comment. Isn't that fun? First up, we have Victoria.
Can I go after them?
Oh, here.
Sorry.
Ariana. Is this a group or is it individuals?
It's a group.
A group? Okay, so
5 minutes, 5 minutes.
hold on 1 second.
Each time it's totally.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, I'm Ariana Chavez,
I'm Jasmine Flores.
and we're seniors from Central. I'm pretty sure you guys may have heard of the Hispanic Heritage Month celebration. I started that in my sophomore year, and we've done it, you know, years going on, and this year we're going to do it as well. But this year we are thinking of making like a club where it's all year round, and we're just asking for your guys' support. Like our mission is an organization that will encourage, strengthen, and support Hispanic students. HSA will provide a place for Hispanic students to celebrate and take pride in their heritage. We're welcoming non-Hispanic students to embrace our rich culture of Spanish-speaking people. HSA will not just be about dancing, performing. It will also be about be a voice to allow students for their concerns and fears to be heard. We also want to educate students on the field of speaking up and embracing their culture, even if it has nothing to do with Hispanics.
Like what we're reading off is like our constitution to like what we have. We kind of just wanted to kind of present it to you guys. Like we're gonna have like we're welcoming anybody. It's not just gonna be about like us. We don't want to like discriminate against any other person. We want to include everyone. We're also gonna have like officials. So like since Ariana started all of this, we're gonna have her as like the president. We also have the group behind us that is also gonna be a part of it. We have a treasury. We have co-presidents, vice presidents. We have secretaries, marketing advisors, and like electing the team. We're having like elections like at the end of March. That way, like for April and May, we're still there helping them and like for them to learn the process of everything. And then like those meetings are gonna be held like at Central. And we already talked to Mr. Gillen about this and we have his approval on it. We kind of just wanted to present this to you guys to get your support, to have you guys there at like our events because we want to do bake sales, soccer tournaments. Like we want this to be a year-round thing.
Yeah, and like we're thinking of also like if we do bake sales like football games, we already got permission from Coach Granger. He said yes, and maybe we can do like some volunteering hours, like going after the next day to go help clean up, so we can get some hours as well. And we also would like to go like to Springfield to the middle schools, like to go teach them a dance or even go like read a book to them. You know, like I know like every other club they like go and read to them. We would like to do something like that as well, something similar.
I think to just like elaborate on it, I guess we just want to like be there for the future generation and show them all the things that they can do, just how we're doing it here as well.
And we also have, of course, Miss Fox, Victoria Fox, supporting us, and we have Santos from Grand Valley with the Mazo Center. So we're gonna partner up with them so they can help us out.
But yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah, we're just asking for your guys' support.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Mr. Perry, I just want to make sure that Mr. Perry's going to meet with you before you leave, so please let him check in with you so we make sure that we can support you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
All right, next we have Victoria.
Hi everybody, Victoria Fox. I'm a parent of Luna and Soul at Fremont Elementary. I've been helping this group for a few years now since it started as a choreographer and as a mentor here as a Hispanic and Latino community leader in Battle Creek. And I just wanted to like publicly state my support for them because I'm so proud and I'm trying not to cry. This group of kids does a lot of work outside of school, volunteering with the Mazo Center organization, Truth and Racial Healing Transformation organization with the Kellogg Community Foundation. They have put in a lot of volunteer hours that aren't necessarily able to be recognized by the school in different ways unless they are in National Honor Society. So I'm really proud to see a club like this because I have young Hispanic children that'll be going to this school, and knowing that Battle Creek, the city, doesn't offer many schools with bilingual programs like Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, and Ann Arbor, it is, you know, that is something that has always wanted to pull me out of Battle Creek to offer that space of inclusion and offering for my children. So seeing clubs like this is something that helps me say like, yeah, I'm dedicated to Battle Creek Public Schools, and it'll show other parents and students why it's important to be, you know, invested in your school's growth within your community. So showing up to a space where you know what the other people are going through, their experiences, their language, their culture. So I'm really proud, and I just hope to see you guys supporting future events for these young students right here. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to superintendent comments.
Thank you. Today my only comment is I wanted to take a moment to honor the life and legacy of Kathleen Moore, a beloved community leader and passionate advocate for public education. For many years, Kathleen worked tirelessly. I'm going to get emotional because she was really, so I'm sorry about that. But for many years, Kathleen worked tirelessly to ensure that every child in our community had access to the resources and opportunities they deserved. She championed not only the academic success of our students, but also the well-being of our teachers, staff, and families. Kathleen's commitment to public education was evident in every initiative she supported, and her leadership, friendship, and tireless advocacy will continue to inspire us as we carry on the work that was so dear to her heart. Her vision for a stronger, more equitable public education system remains a guiding light for our community. On behalf of the Board of Education and the administration here at Battle Creek Public Schools, I wanted to extend our deepest condolences to Kathleen's family and loved ones during this difficult time. I personally am profoundly grateful for her service, guidance, and support, and I know that her legacy will live on through the countless lives she touched. Thank you.
Thank you. Board member comments.
I just wanted to take the time just to follow up on the superintendent's comments. It's been with the family. We went to a conference in Chicago. I think it's been a few years. And I'm an old school Bearcat, 78. Lakeview, Battle Creek, we didn't like each other. It's just that simple. But I went to a conference and I got to know Catherine. They made us talk to each other. We had to meet and sit and talk to each other. I went old school and I'm like, I don't want to talk to these people. And from Lakeview, that was just my attitude. And Catherine and I sat next to each other and she was like, I want to know why you feel that way. And I really, and that's the purpose of this group, was to get to know people's feelings and talk. And at first I was like, you really don't want to know why I feel the way I feel. But I got to be open, and my voice kind of cracking because I still remember. We just talked, and I talked about how, from my era, going out to Lakeview, you didn't want us out there, you weren't accepted. She seriously didn't understand that, but at this conference, she didn't understand it when I said what I said in the beginning. But as we talked, in the end, tough little me, she got to understand my feelings and cross some racial barriers. We went there. And in the end, I'm gonna wrap this up because I can't talk about it. In the end, I'm sitting up here crying with this lady after 3 days together. And I never would have thought that I would sit here in tears. And we're talking to each other about those times. So, but ever since then, she would call. Now, we wouldn't talk every day, but she would text or she would call. And she would say, all right, this is Catherine. I'm just staying in touch. It might be once a year. Or when I would see her at the conference. And she said, that bond that we created then, she says, I'm going to maintain. She says, because she went back and shared my feelings and what we learned together with her family, which I got to know some of them. So she kind of helped me, I guess, get over my feelings about Lakeview, but she was a sweet person. And when I heard what happened, it kind of messed me up. And you find out on Facebook, so it kind of messed me up. So to Catherine and her family, very, very sweet person.
Other board member comment?
I would just add that Kathleen was a special person to all of us. And one thing that she was such a model for was lifelong learning. And she really respected hearing other people's opinions because she wanted to learn more. And she was, to me, a great listener and just a model of strength that is just incredible. The things that she was involved with and the passion she went with any things that she was working on was something that was pretty marvelous because she was a hard worker as well as just dynamite of a person because she just was energetic and willing to learn and willing to listen and do her very best for not only school board trustees to know that she came from Battle Creek, Michigan and got to serve as a MASB board president. It was just amazing and just so wonderful because she was quite proud to represent the area. And she only started out as a board of director, but look at where she ended up as. So just very pleased and do wish for comfort and peace for her family and know that the love does come from Battle Creek Public Schools. And I want to thank Dr. Carter for her kind words because she deserves every bit of that. She just really earned it, but didn't expect to be honored, but she deserves a great recognition and so much appreciation for all that she's done for Battle Creek, Michigan.
So I have one, well, two. One regarding I'm sure you have heard in the Inquirer, the joint special board meeting that all 4 districts are having on Monday, September 23rd. I just want to give a point of clarity that this meeting is going to be, a presenter is going to come and give all 4 boards a presentation on current and new legislation that's happened in Michigan that affects public schools, and that's the only topic. So we will not be collaborating on anything else. We do plan to have more meetings throughout the year at different districts, but this first one, the only topic is going to be current and new legislation given to all four boards, and nothing else. So there'll be no collaboration. The public is still welcome to come and speak for 3 minutes, but the boards themselves will not be interacting or discussing anything school related. We're just getting a presentation to all 4 boards. And then my next, so I also want to give condolences to Kathleen's family. When she was president of the Michigan Association of School Boards, I had the privilege of being appointed by her. And now I am currently on the Michigan Association of School Boards because of her. I've known her since I was in high school. I went to school with her kids. She's been on the Lakeview board for over 20 years. And she, a few weeks ago, just received the President's Award from MASB, which is a huge honor. There's not many in our state that have that. And I told her when she got that award that that's something I'm aiming to do, and she is definitely an inspiration to me and the community, and I think she will be missed, and my condolences to her family. Any other comments? Meeting adjourned.
That will be his
We
progression. Any teacher that Luna had, he will have.
Wings, it's just.
Cause now, I don't want us to be throwing money on
already know that
updating
teacher.
buildings. The average age was like 75.
They're not,
Learned a lot about communication to your parents.
not a,
Do not.
it just doesn't make sense, not a
Well, I saw one that green on there. I'm like, goodness, what's he doing there?